And we live in a world that we have so many assumptions, right? From social media, from upbringing, right? From some people are super big into religiosity, right? And so there's so many assumptions about the best way to live and the life that you're supposed to live, right? Um, you have to figure out what that looks like for you. Everything in life boils down to choices and decisions. We all have to make them. And when you're living in the unknown, which is the present moment, right? You don't really know what's going to happen. The mind is trying to play out these different scenarios to bring comfort to you. You are so powerful that you can either create a loop or you can break it. Welcome back to another episode of Here We Grow, where we are growing for real and not for show. I'm your girl Kiki, you already know. And this is my mommy, my co host. Please say hello. Thank you. Period. You know, we got to get that right every time. What's up, y'all? How y'all been doing? I hope y'all been doing well, living life, you know, taking it how it comes. Today we're gonna talk about emotions. We got to get back into the whole gist of Here We Grow, right? We've kind of talked about a lot of different scenarios, a lot of different other type of topics, but we're gonna get back into the energy work, okay? So the other night I was just thinking like about happiness in general and like what is happiness, right? It's an emotion. It is a frequency. And so usually we always talk about wanting to be happy or wanting to be in this certain state of mind or state of being, but the reality is that we aren't actually our emotions. We aren't actually the frequency. Like, we're the thing above that. We're the thing that witnesses happiness or sadness or excitement or whatever the case may be, right? Like, emotions are fleeting. And so I've been kind of struggling with this idea of like being happy when I'm not actually happy in the moment, right? And so it's like I'm appreciative and I'm grateful of life, but I'm not always happy. Like, I don't always want to go outside and smile, you know. I don't always want to just be like a super open, communicative person. And sometimes I force myself to do that because I feel like that's the best thing for me to do, right? I have to force myself to be in this state of being when I'm actually not there. And that's actually creating a trap, right? Ultimately, because you're creating a false narrative, and you're actually creating a loop as well, because when you are pretending to be something that you're not, then you're learning how to put a mask on. And we don't want to have masks, okay? We want to live authentically, genuinely, right? So as I was thinking about this, you know, everything in life boils down to choices and decisions. We all have to make them. And sometimes when you make decisions, sometimes those decisions can be backed by emotions, right? But when you really make a decision wholeheartedly and soundly and sanely, um, you don't really use your emotions. You have to use logic, right? Or something that feels the best. Sometimes even what feels the easiest, right? Because we're used to this struggle concept of we have to work so hard to get the things that we want, and while work is required, it shouldn't destroy you. It shouldn't just beat you all the way down to the point that you can't even enjoy the fruits of your labor because you just put so much into the labor, right? You don't know how to have fun. You don't know how to live. So when making choices and decisions, it is it's like we learn, what's the word I'm looking for? Ugh, so many. I'm just gonna stick with learn because it's gonna be the easiest way for me to describe it. We adapt. There we go. We adapt to the emotion that we want to feel, right? So when we talk about energy, when we talk about alignment, it's about adapting, adjusting, which is the real work, right? There's no amount of physical labor, no nothing in the physical could equate to the inner work of what it means to align with the life that you want to live, right? So if you say, hey, I want to be a happy person, right? There are things required of you that represents a happy person. You're ultimately signing up for what that means to be a happy person. That can mean you see the let me use another one, not happy, let's say positive. Okay, so if you say you're a positive person, then there is a frequency of positivity, right? So if you align, you tune into that like a radio station, like we talked a long time ago, right? It's like you're flipping channels, right? And let's say we get on a channel of positivity, there is a certain life that represents positivity. So anything that happens in life, you're automatically able to alchemize into a positive situation, right? Um, let's say you got a flat tire, right? But you got a flat tire, but let's say up the street, right? Let's say if you didn't get that flat tire in that moment, let's say that you could have potentially been into an accident, right? But the flat tire actually saved you from something that you couldn't see like further. You get what I'm saying? Like you couldn't see beyond that point. And so that's what a positive person does, right? No matter what life throws at them, a positive person can always change a situation back into a positive situation. Or it maybe be like, okay, I got a flat tire. Maybe I need to slow down. Maybe maybe it's just an opportunity for me to get new tires. It could be just as simple as that. Being excited about, hey, I got new tires. I don't have to worry about getting a flat tire anymore. Maybe it's to increase your awareness about the state of your tires, like things of that, right? Everything is a learning opportunity. It's whatever you want to make it. So when we think about emotions as fleeting, that's what it is, right? But we train ourselves to, or we adapt to what that looks like. So we go to, let's say you want to be a successful person. What does a successful person look like? How does a successful person act? And really, not even the act itself, but how do they feel? Right? They always feel successful. They always feel like that they're learning something, they're applying something to their life. They're, whatever comes is, even if they fail, is successful, right? Because now they can kind of tweak their approach to, their business or their craft or whatever they have going on, right? So we're not always happy with the choices. We learn to be happy with them, right? We adapt to them. And so a good thing about I want to say a good thing. A great thing about recognizing emotions as fleeting is that it allows you to detach from them in a positive way and to know that you actually hold the power and not the emotions, right? Emotions, it's cool to feel them. There's nothing wrong with them. We're human. That's a part of our technology, right? Like we're meant to feel things. I mean, obviously. But when you're able to separate the emotion from what is actually in front of you, that's when the real power kicks in. That's when the real inner work starts happening. Because now you can say, well, I actually don't like, let's say like we know life is, I don't want to say hard. I'm trying to relearn language and not say, but life can be, there are a lot of obstacles in life, right? For the most part. But you can look at life the way you want to as a reflection of who you are. So let's go back to when we talked about the world that we're in right now, right, is the dead world. So when you go out today or whenever you watch this video, just kind of be aware of the things that you see, right? Maybe the traffic, maybe your spouse, maybe your children, right? All of that is old. It's old. It's dead. It already happened. You already manifested, right? The now, living in the present, not being attached to things that have already manifested, like emotions, right, is choosing to feel the way that you want to feel in your most aligned state, right? For me, that looks like peacefulness. That looks like freedom. It looks like authenticity. Authenticity. Okay, I'm struggling with that word today. Authenticity, right? But for somebody else, it could be financial freedom, right? It could be I don't know, like spatial freedom, right? They can move around. Maybe they want to be a nomad or something in that nature. Okay. Anything. It could be anything. So the thing is though, what I'm trying to make you understand is that you are so powerful that you can either create a loop or you can break it, right? That's what we're talking about. And so when we talk about happiness and we talk about excitement, we talk about joy and freedom, it is a choice. It is a decision to operate in a certain frequency, to live your life in a certain manner. So anytime you do anything or say anything that is not a reflection of that said desire, emotional state, or that frequency, you have thrown yourself out of the alignment, out of that timeline. And so I'm learning that now it's okay to be, don't pretend to be happy, but choose to be happy, right? Even if you don't really feel it, but the practicing, the adaptation to it is what creates the reality, all right? That's the power that we're talking about. So when you feel yourself getting overwhelmed, right, that is an opportunity for you to not only say, okay, I feel overwhelmed. You have to know what you feel, right? Most of our vocabulary is limited to happy, sad, mad, you know, basic stuff. There are so many different type of emotions, so many different frequencies, and sometimes we kind of box ourselves in, or we compartmentalize so much that we just say, you might feel anger, right? But it's not really anger, right? It might be abandonment, it might be betrayal, it might be overwhelming. I don't know, but sometimes when we just categorize ourselves and just put labels on certain things and we're not actually knowing what we're feeling, we miss a lot. And that's how the loop keeps repeating itself, okay? So now I was thinking about that. I was like, I don't want to pretend to be something that I'm not. I mean, I feel like for the most part, I'm pretty clear when I'm not in a happy-go-lucky mood, right? But I also have to know that being responsible, caring about how I feel, caring about the life I want to create, I just gotta get over myself. I gotta get over myself. Stuff happens. Yes, validate yourself. But it's no point of holding on to things that is a part of the old world, the old thought system, the old mindset, the old beliefs that you had. That's what I'm saying. So when we hold on to certain behaviors or certain emotions that don't really serve us, we're just staying in the loop. Okay? We're literally staying in the loop. So this is a video to motivate you to get out of the loop, to recognize what you're feeling, but to observe it and to let it go and to remain in the present moment, which means remain in that emotional space that you want to be in. Remain in the frequency that you want to operate in, okay? Choose consciously and choose wisely. You have to know what you're doing, okay? You have to know what you want. And that's another thing. I feel like for me personally, I'm learning that it's difficult to call in a certain life or a certain mindset when you're not sure about what you want. And we live in a world that we have so many assumptions, right? From social media, from upbringing, right? From some people are super big into religiosity, right? And so there's so many assumptions about the best way to live and the life that you're supposed to live, right? You have to figure out what that looks like for you, first off. Second off, when you feel these emotions that are like when I'm not feeling my absolute happy self, right, or my absolute positive self, remind yourself that that's the old self. That's the old timeline trying to reinsert itself, right? It's trying to stay powered up, right? Because we know that energy goes, or attention goes where energy flows. I think that's the right way. Or maybe it's energy flows where attention goes. Maybe that energy flows where attention goes, right? So when those old emotions, they're trying to stay fueled. They're trying to stay alive, right? Because they're dead. So they want you to keep giving it more and more and more. So when a situation is happening and you get upset about it, you feed into it negatively, right? That's exactly what it wants. That's exactly what it wants. It wants you to be upset. It wants you to fuel it, because without your energy, it has to die. It has nowhere to go. It has to transform into something else. And most of the time, it doesn't want that, right? Like when you think about thoughts, right? People always say, I remember I had a friend that made a comment saying that her mind was her enemy. And I had to tell her, like, no, it's not your enemy, right? Like, the mind is doing what it's meant to do, right? It wants to protect us. It doesn't always do a good job, not saying that, but that's what it's wired to do, right? When we make mistakes, right? It wants to protect us from making same mistakes, or whatever the case may be. But what happens with the mind is that it gets so full of itself, right? Because we fuel it with overthinking, we fuel it with just believing what it says all the time, because that's all we know. And when you're living in the unknown, which is the present moment, right, you don't really know what's going to happen. The mind is trying to play out these different scenarios to bring comfort to you. Okay, so that's like when you're in a relationship, you might have instances where you have seeds of doubts, right? You have thoughts of like, maybe they're unfaithful to me, maybe it feels too good so it can't be good, right? That's the mind trying to protect us, right? It's trying its best, to stop something that we don't know to happen. We want to be ahead of it, right? But what happens is we actually just end up playing over into mindsets, into narratives that are not real. They're not, but we end up creating them because we're fueling them by our thoughts, right? And by our emotions and by our energy. All of that stuff is super, super, super powerful, right? So reminding yourself, okay, wow, that hurts. Letting that hurt pass through you, knowing that you are not that hurt, knowing that you no longer fuel that part of you because it's no longer you, and stepping back into that identity of who you want to be. Because, we create this whatever we want. We can do whatever we want. So, all of this stuff is fleeting, right? So, choose to live the life that makes you feel good, that makes you feel the most comfortable, that makes you excited to get up. At the end of the day, that's what life is really about. It's about finding that happiness, finding that peace and that positivity every day, because it could always be worse. Like, it's cool being a human. It really is. Like, when you really get from like beside yourself, when you just really stop playing into the negative parts of it, and just really recognize, like, to be able to walk, to breathe, to talk is such a beautiful thing. To love, to be loved, to experience even the emotions that we have, all of them, it's a beautiful thing, right? But we just need to understand that they're not us, and that our energy and what we pay attention to, what we give our attention to, is costly. It's very costly. Even when we think it's not, it's super, super costly. So this is just a reminder to stop fueling and refueling old patterns, old timelines. Watch yourself. Observe your thoughts. Let them come. They're not you, okay? That's why meditation, right? We talk about meditation a lot. People want to control the thoughts. I did that. That's just a normal reaction, right? When you first start meditating, because your mind is so active, because it's like, wait a minute. You're actually watching me now, and now I just, you either play into it, or you learn how to just let them flow through you and know that it's not you. Like, I done thought some crazy stuff, okay, and I'm like, hold on, it's not me. Like, I would never do anything like that, right? But it's just what it is. And we are always consuming so much, so most of the thoughts, I feel like, aren't even ours. I just feel like stuff that we've seen, something that we've heard in music, right? This is why it's important to meditate. It's important to detox from a lot of things, not just like physically, but like from your music, from things that you read. Sometimes you just need to be with yourself so you can really figure out who you are, and really understand what life you want to live, what emotion you want to feel, or what emotional space you want to occupy. So, yeah, I hope that makes sense. I feel like I'm rambling a little bit because, you know, these thoughts come in the middle of the night. So I'm trying to catch stuff when I'm like halfway asleep, or, dreaming, and certain thoughts are being presented to me to talk about. But happiness is fleeting. All of the emotions are fleeting because they aren't us. The only thing that is us is our soul, our spirit, that is always there with us every second of every minute, literally. And it's never phased by anything. That's why, when you get on your spiritual journey and you start to realize that when you get to the point where you don't care about the compliments either, it's like, that you are getting closer to the truth, because it doesn't matter, bad or good. It's just life. Like, it really does matter. It does not matter. It does not have power over you if you know that it's not you to begin with. So, my last thought: every step of your life is about the choice that you make. Okay. Even the choices that you make unconsciously is still a reflection of who you are. So this week we're gonna be more observant of certain thoughts, emotions. We're gonna be more conscious about things that we give our attention to, things that we give our energy to, right? To avoid attaching to an illusion. Most of this stuff is an illusion. All of it, truly, is an illusion. It's a projection. Our mind is creating all of this. It's a projection of who we are, what we need to work on, what we need to detach from, what we need to heal through. So just take it as an opportunity to learn more about yourself, to get over yourself, and to consciously choose what you want to constantly fuel the reality that aligns with your high self. Okay. Thank you guys so much for being here always. Listen to another episode with me and Here We Grow, where we are growing and evolving one day at a time, one step at a time, and one moment at a time. I'll see you guys next week. Bye.